Even now, a hell of a lot of people just see that an image on the cop. Don't really know the story behind it, but that's good because there's so many more people we can reach. Owen led a really normal life for children. He wasn't sick in any way. We were always on holiday. We were always away. Owen was very well travelled. And then one day, it just all come crashing down. He just got rushed to Alderey Hospital. We drove him to Alderey Hospital one night. A couple of hours later, he was diagnosed with leukaemia. And 3 days later, he died. But when Owen died, I absolutely know that, like, he was with me, and I know that he was guiding me, and especially in the foundation stuff, because the stuff that was happening wasn't possible. It just wasn't. It can be difficult at times, but life is also good. Owen passed away in December, and we helped the first child in February. We're the only charity that they've ever sold merchandise for in the club shops and online all over the world, and still do.
Every morning.
Like you blow dried it?
With my head upside down. I just ran here dead quick. Good to go. Mark, thanks very much for coming in, mate.
Thank you.
So, obviously we'll get into the story in a bit, but I think what would be nice, I've got 2 young boys who's 6 and 4. Probably should have done this when it wasn't straight after Easter, because it's been hard work.
Yeah.
But and they're completely different. What was Owen like when he was younger?
Well, straight away, I think about it, just smile. He was a really, really fun kid. Because he didn't have any cousins, none of the family, and it's still the case now. He grew up around adults, so he could manage himself around adults. And because he went to match with me on a coach as well, he was quite quick-witted, and he could, tear the back out of an adult if he needed to. But he was a really gentle kid and a kind kid. Like and he was into everything. He swapped and changed around. One day he'd be boxing, the next day it'd be football, the next day, be fishing. But he was always active, and there was never ever enough hours in a day for him. Which I kind of look back at and think, not did he know, but I think he was chasing time, always chasing time. So he was that kind of kid. If you shouted him at 9 o'clock to come in, can I have another hour? But he was a bit old school.
You don't get that with kids now. You just want to you just want to sit in front of an iPad.
No. And he just mixed well. I mean, I'd come in from work in the van, and this one particular day he was sitting on a wall brushing 2 girls' hair, and I'm like, oh, what's he doing? But he was as comfortable around that as he was a bunch of lads at boxing, and he didn't really care what anyone thought. He had his own style. He wore what he liked, and I loved that about him. He just really wasn't bothered with anything in life but enjoying it.
Nice. So for people who don't know the story, do you want to?
Yeah. Owen led a really normal life for children. He wasn't sick in any way. I said a bit of a lie, because when he was born, we had to stay in with him in the women's, because he wasn't very well for a period of about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And other than that, it was plain sailing after that. Due to the birth, Owen eyesight was poor. So we used to wear really big glasses from a really young age. He'd lean across the bedside cabinet and put his glasses on. It's the first thing he'd do when he'd wake up. He was very small as well. They talk about low centile and stuff like that. But he was just a dead happy kid. Me and Joanne kind of lived to provide for him like every other parent does. We didn't really think about it. We just lived life. We were always on holiday. We were always away. Owen was very well travelled, and even if he had a school, something on, we'd make an excuse. If it was like he was learning about the Romans, we'd go to Rome. It's the best way to learn, and he learned that way with everything that we did. And then one day it just all come crashing down. Owen wasn't sick in any way. He stayed off with flu-like symptoms when he was 11. I never ever used to stay off with him, because work was always I was always needed. It was always Jo that did that. She was, a brilliant mother, still is to this day. And she stayed off with him for a couple of days, and then I did, and it's something I'd never did, and I'm so glad that I stayed off them last couple of days. He just got rushed to Alderey Hospital. We drove him to Alderey Hospital one night. with headaches. A couple of hours later, he was diagnosed with leukemia, and 3 days later, he died. He didn't live leukemia. It didn't shape him in any form or way. He didn't know he had it. And yeah, everything kind of fell apart from there. Our perfect life in every way. Because me and Joe met at school, you know. We done everything the perfect way without even planning it, you know. We went and got our own first little flat, you know. We got our first little house. We ran away to Las Vegas and got married together. We're very much best friends, still are to this day, and always have been. And then he kind of made us, and that piece was gone. So it was a massive shock, obviously, and very, very difficult for us both, and still is to this day.
Do you think what you're saying, that you stayed off and you never normally did? Do you think deep down you might have known something? Or?
I have questioned myself with that.
Yeah.
I don't kind of believe in many things. I don't disbelieve in many things. I'm kind of like, it's all love. If someone is feeling good about what they follow or what they do, that's great. If they're not hurting anybody else, and I don't know where I stand with all that. But when Owen died, I absolutely know that he was with me, and I know that he was guiding me, and especially in the foundation stuff, because the stuff that was happening wasn't possible. It just wasn't. I wasn't I just lost my son. How could I have the energy to do what we did? But all of a sudden, it was there. There was a purpose, you know. Even though I didn't want it, there was a purpose, you know, and I felt the need to keep his name alive, because that was the main thing. He was such a human that I was like, that can't be the end for him at 11. There's no way. And I feel a great sense of pride because the foundation's in his name. And his name is spoke about in positive terms every day. So we don't have any choice what happens to our children or our parents or in any way like that medically, but we can shape a legacy. And that's what me and Joanne have attempted to do with Owen.
So how long ago was that now?
It will be 10 years coming up in December. So it was December the 7th, 2015. So yeah, and it genuinely feels like last week. Life just you know, has momentum and carries on forward, and I've just kind of put my head down and cracked on. It can be difficult at times, but you know, life is also good.
So how long after did you decide to set up the foundation?
Instantly, really. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that couldn't be the end. No, couldn't be. Never will be. Owen passed away in December, and we helped the first child in February. We were a registered charity by the July. And lots of things were in place from there. The first child, excuse me, we ever helped was a young girl called Lucy Orr. I always talk about Lucy because that's where it began. I'm pleased to say Lucy's finished Nottingham University last year. But she was probably halfway through a leukemia diagnosis when we got involved. And that was a really, really, this is what I meant by Owen was guiding me. So 6 months before Owen died, maybe even only 5 months, he went away to a PGL, you know, at school. And me and Joanne went away to wave him off on the coach. Joe a little bit worried, as mums are, that he was going away for 3 days. Dad's a little bit more relaxed, knowing he's going to have a good time, you know. And when he went away, he shared the dorm with another boy whose mum and dad was stood next to us, waving him off. That was Lucy's brother. Owen knew she had cancer. We never knew. We never knew it till afterwards, when her brother told us that Owen knew about Lucy. And Owen obviously died 4 or 5 months later. And dead randomly, this is the first child we ever helped, and he's come into contact with his brother and slept over with him for 3 days. I absolutely know that we were guided towards that child and to do what we were to do. Lucy went on to become our biggest fundraiser. We've done some magical things with her, and we learned about how important it was to support families, you know, going through this diagnosis. Lucy loved animals, so Joanne was the forefront of this and decided that we were going to take her to Crufts and let her walk dogs around the auditorium in Crufts. Done a bit of a stay over for a family in a hotel, organised them getting lifts up there and back, and kind of shaped the foundation from them thoughts, really, to listen to what the children like and then deliver it for them. It kind of went full circle when Lucy become better and she asked us what Owen liked, and we said the Great British Bake Off because he did love a cake. And she put on the Great British Bake Off, and that's when we met Paul Askew, who was our first ever ambassador. So Lynn and Steve, who were Lucy's parents, used to dine at the art school, so he knew them, and we decided we were going to put this Great British Bake Off on. So we done it in a way with Liverpool Culinary College, that Lucy was the main judge, and then all the kids would cook. And then from that, they hired out Croxteth Country Park and done a traditional Great British Bake Off the next day that Lucy organised to raise funds for the foundation, and it kind of all started there. Paul obviously got really involved with the families, and he could see a firsthand of what we were trying to create. And that was over a period of time. It wasn't just one thing. We'd done numerous things. But yeah, that's how it kicked off.
It just shows, really, for me, because I think obviously a lot of parents, they go one way or the other. And I think for you to literally jump straight into the foundation,
yeah,
and make it a success. Because I was, funny, we were talking earlier, weren't we, about where Joe used to come to the yoga studio.
Yeah.
And that must have been just after it. So I took a picture out before. And I don't think you've ever seen this. So this was 2016.
Yeah.
So I think the foundation must have only been, 6 months old.
It was July that it was official, but we've been going, yeah.
And it was when I climbed Kilimanjaro when I took the shirt up the top. And I thought, you know what, it's gone so quick, hasn't it?
Yeah, very, very fast. But again, you know, people like yourselves, that image was becoming part of people. Like, even now, a hell of a lot of people just see that an image on the cop. Don't really know the story behind it, but that's good, because there's so many more people we can reach, who we can share the story with, and doing podcasts like this enable people to understand our story, where we're at, and things that people have done and things that people are doing, you know, to keep that going. Like I said, I ran a fitted bedroom company. I didn't know the first thing about charity or how it worked. All I had was a drive to do something in my son's name.
Yeah.
I still have that drive. But I've learned a lot, you know, and the biggest thing to come out of this really is our families that we look after need me to put things in place for them. They might be families whose children are going through treatment. It might be families whose children have passed away like Owen, but they want to be attached and remember their kids in the same way, and they do it through the Owen McVeigh Foundation, and that's humbling beyond belief. And that has happened over a number of years now. So to offer them that that chance to be a part of our group, which everybody mightn't want to be in, but it's just like a circle of love. It sounds corny, but to be there and be in these safe rooms where they are, and we're always thinking on our feet, because me and Joanne know it from one point of view. We didn't know. We've never lived cancer, and these families go through 3, 4, 5 years of treatments, you know, relapsing after 5 years and doing it again. You might have a child at like 9 years of age and he's been battling cancer for 7 years of his life, you know, so that can't be normal for a family, can it? And we try to put the normal in there for them, because they wouldn't necessarily go out, and they don't give themselves permission to do the normal things because they think it's wrong. But we give them the permission by creating it and saying, come along and meet everybody else who's just like you.
Because it's tough on the parents. I think the stats are quite high, aren't they, for parents who separate?
Yes.
Because of the amount of stress and strain that it puts on. So for you to, obviously you're doing things for the children, but a lot of it is to support the family, isn't it, as well, to almost keep them together.
Yeah,
and the support.
it's kind of grown into that. It was always about the kids, but we're moving in so many different directions now. But we can only do that with the support we've had, you know. So in the beginning, like, we'd done the stuff with Lucy, and I maybe had ideas of grandeur at the beginning, you know, like doing these wonderful things, which we did do. You know, we sent a kid over. She wanted to watch the ball drop in New York. So right at the end of the treatment, we sent her, a brother and her mum and dad over to New York to do that. You know, there's a little girl who wants to go to the Louvre. When a kid says to you at 6 or 7 years of age, you want to go to the Louvre, she wants to go to the Louvre. Do you know what I mean? It's not like mum and dad aren't saying, we want to go there. So, you know, we did that, you know, and we done that for the family, and obviously we threw Disney in there as well. But we, you know, we would look after hotels, we look after flights, we look after food, we make sure it did financially okay to go and do these things. But you can't do them on the budget isn't there to be doing that for all the children that are diagnosed. So we do them things more fleetingly. But now what we've become more of is, because this city's so kind, and because now we have a body of work behind us, we have the M&S Bank Arena, where we have access to a box for every single show. We have the Liverpool Empire, which we've got our own room downstairs that we probably put 40 shows on a year there. We have Albert Slosh, which we do breakfast club in for the families. We have the Jockey Club. So we're regularly at a private box at Haydock Park, Aintree. Liverpool Football Club, obviously, we're one of their charity partners, and we do tons of stuff with them in lots of different ways. And even tomorrow, we've got a young girl going to Everton, meeting all the players and that. So we've grown in the city to become a charity that these families can come to, and we can create moments for them. And now, fast forward all these years to the parents now. So, like I said earlier, we've got the darts tomorrow for Dad's night, which is always a good night. And we've done that for the last three or 4 years. And then Mum's night next week for Gary Barlow over at the Empire as well. And so we're giving them a little break out of their normal life and routine. And there's just lots of pride involved in that, you know. And even last week or the week before, we had Aintree races, and we tried something for the first time, and we had Bereaved Parents Day. And we didn't tell them. We just invited them, and they just realised when they were all sitting together that what had happened to them in their lives. What really, really, like, the big buzz that come out of that for me is, like, I was in the room, but I left them alone altogether. And one of the mums was, this was all new to her, and she was a little bit upset, and we just give her a bit of space and time. And then she got a bit upset, and the lady who was, like, obviously, like, Ladbrokes or something like that was serving her, was worried that she was upset, and asked her why. And she told her why. And then that lady went away and spoke to the next table and told her why she was upset. And then a managing director of a big company seeked us out and said, I want to make sure that I cover that table every year so that these parents can come and give that day again like we did. So it's all very natural. Yeah. It comes to you. Do good things and it'll come.
So, obviously, in a world where a lot of charities struggle, and obviously you're going to be quite modest about this, but it's like, what do you think has made it so successful in such a short space of time?
Well, we're a legacy charity, so it's in Owen's name. I didn't have any other children, and neither did Joanne. So what we had is a lot of time. And like you said, you can go one way or the other. So I used as much time as I possibly could to do the groundwork, to make a foundation, you know, strong from the beginning. And then, because we'd done the work with these parents, I think they felt attached to me and Joe in a different way that they probably could in other charities. And so they wanted to help us. Yeah. So it was just kind of like a lovely circle, but that continues. So, you know, the natural progress really would be a child would come in, they'd be diagnosed, the hospital would put them forward to us. Social media's changed things a lot now, where families will come directly, and we'll take the children on. And it might be, the first thing they might do is our cinema show at the Everyman every month. They might come along, there's 118 kids there, and we look after them, and then they meet other parents. And then they might decide that they're going to come along to Ollie Mears next week. And he'll meet some teenagers at their age. It'll be a group of girls. And all of a sudden, they're part of a group. And then they want to give back because they see the hard work that we do to create these things for them. And the thing with us, whether it be me or Eddie, because there's only the two of us, we're at everything. Whether it's at 8:30 in the morning getting ready at the Everyman for Snow White at 50 years of age, trust me, that isn't something you want to do. But it's important. It's important that if a new family walks in, that I realise that I'm probably a hell of a lot of their family's worst nightmare. Because if they've just been diagnosed with any form of cancer, if they don't know, one of the first questions they'll ask me is, how's Owen? So it isn't a good answer. Eddie, on the other hand, who I work with, he's worked on the ward for 35 years. And his son was diagnosed with leukemia, and he's got his own children now, Eddie's grandchildren. So I always knew I couldn't be on the ward for that reason. I was passionate about what we did, but I didn't want to scare anyone. Yeah. So we really did think about what we were doing. And now that I have Eddie, it's a lovely story, and yet he understands as well. And then the soft approach into me and Joanne because we're not scary, but it might just be a little bit daunting for them in the beginning. So we do think about it. So they normally meet us on second, third thing or something, maybe at the races or something like that, you know. And I kind of all the questions are probably out the way to Eddie then, you know. So we do really think about what we're doing. Even if we're putting something together with a group of boys, we'll try to pick boys around the same age, going through the same thing, put them in the same room. And then obviously we have our child ambassadors who we bring along because, you know, that gives some families hope to the future, what might bring for them as well, you know, because at that time they just want some hope.
So from the children and the families that you support, what ages are these? From
3 months old to 17, 18. But again, if a child's been with us at 17 years of age and he's got 3 years treatment, then he's going to be 20, and obviously we're not going to put them down. So they'll be with us until they don't need us. And again, that can change when, you know, you might get to 20 and then relapse and end up not even in Alderhay, maybe in Clatterbridge. But again, there's no rules with us because it's just us. We decide who we want to help, and we want to help everybody, and we can, you know.
Do you know how many you've helped?
Well, I think there's about, and don't quote me on this, I think there's about 120, 130 kids diagnosed in Liverpool alone. But we look after the Wirral, St Helens, Warrington, obviously Liverpool, and we only in the last 6 months ventured out now to like Nantwich and Chester. So Liverpool alone is about 110 kids in over 9 years, and we look after their siblings as well. So it's running into that many thousands. And then with the families and then the grandparents, because even if we send them on holiday, one of the first things they do when they sign up to the Owen McVeigh Foundation is we have a holiday retreat in the Lake District. So we send them up there. It's on the lake. It's serene. We got it first for children who were going through bone marrow transplants because they normally would have to go to Manchester when we started. And it meant that they'd have to spend maybe 9 months in hospital. So we wanted to give them a break before that happened, and then give them a bit of hope that when they're better, they could go again. Back, yeah. So we used it as a bit of a retreat for that, but that's opened up now more, and we're actually about to sign for another one in Red Wharf Bay as well now. So the families get a free holiday. Not if we think they need funds, we'll fill the cupboards. On some occasions, because we're on site, we'll send mum to get her nails done. Roast dinners on a Sunday. There's a gym literally next door on site where dad might want to go and have an hour, sauna, steam, jacuzzi, or mum might want to do a class, and just give them a bit of a normality for a week, you know.
Respite.
Yeah. So that was one of the first things we did. Peacock Lodge, hence Peacock was Owen's nickname. So we called it Peacock Lodge. And again, most people don't know that. We've got lots of little things there that are just little hidden gems that, for me and Joanne, remind us of Owen all the time, you know.
You must be immensely proud of what's happened.
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
And the support as well that you've got from, I mean, because we talked before about Donna Scully being on, and she was saying how kind the city is.
Yeah.
And it is though, isn't it? I think
Oh.
to really get behind people.
Yeah, we do that event over at the art school once every quarter, as I mentioned, because Paul is an ambassador of ours, and we sat and I did a talk. I think you might have been there, in Sedulo, and I think it was Gary McAllister, and we got asked last minute from a company in London, would I come along and talk and about the foundation, and they'd support us for the night. And Sammy Lee was in the audience. And then he went to Paul the next day and said, I heard some lad speak and I want to help him. And Paul went, well, I'm one of their ambassadors. So they called me in the next day. We sat together and we came up with this idea. And it literally is the good of the city. It's just so much love in the room, and we all look forward to it. It's just something really special. It was just going to be a one-off, and right away we realised it was something that had to be 4 times a year. And we're on number 6 now. The next one comes up in next Friday, and behind the scenes, me, Sammy and Paul talk about how we can make things click. Like the last one was about rugby league, and we had Martin Johnson come up. We had John Charles there doing the live painting of Martin Johnson, and we had Jamie Webster performing. We were using our ambassadors to teach people about what we do and the kind of people who are involved with us. And these people own businesses in the city and decide that they want to help. And that's exactly how the next lodge came. A guy come up to us and said, I want to help you. I've got lodges, I'm building them, they're coming over from Latvia and I want to help. And that just came out of that room. And we always said, we want to do this as Owen would like it, and we don't like the auction and people coming to having the dinner. So just let it be natural. And if people want to help, they'll help. And they did. And they continue to do so. And Donna Scully's one of them type of people. But the room's full of them. There's 75 of them every quarter, and I love it. I love everything it's about. It really is about this city. And I don't know whether this will go out then, but little bit of a surprise for them, because we've got a festival in July that we do once every 2 years up at Hotel Anfield, which we always did at Owen School. And obviously the foundation just grew a little bit too big for us to continue it to be there, because we invite all the families we support. And Owen's best friend was a young boy in school called Ellis Murphy, who's now gone on to be a musician himself. And 2 years ago at the festival, we asked him to open it because it meant something to me and Joanne. And while he was practicing, Jamie Webster was sitting there in the afternoon with his dog and phoned his manager, and he went out on tour with him then over Europe.
Really?
So everything changed for him on the day there. I mean, we did. We had the conversation. Ellis got a bit upset, and I said, it's the little fella looking after you, mate. So he's over there with us next week, and we're going to introduce him to the room before he plays the Philharmonic in June. So good things are happening to Ellis. And again, a kid who's given up his own time to remember his mate and help us along the way, you know.
So you mentioned earlier about the flag on the cop.
Yeah.
So talk to me a bit like the affiliation with Liverpool, how that flag come about.
Okay. It's a funny one, this, isn't it? Okay. So Owen was the youngest member of a group on the cop called the 1906 Buying Cop. He was 11. And where I used to sit in the middle of the cop, he'd sit next to me. And he used to go on all the time about, I want to wave the flags. And I'm being a dad, go on, do it yourself. Because I just wanted him to be confident. And he wasn't, you know. And I said, go on, do it yourself. And he plucked the courage after about 4 or 5 games to go down and speak to a lad, Phil Walton, and ask him, could he wave the flag? And then he loved it. So from then on in, he had no problem going and asking for a flag at the front. And that's just, they were at the time just a group of young lads. The men now were kids. And when Owen passed away, we played Man United. And it was literally days, maybe, it was either days after his funeral. And I don't know why I went, but I wanted to speak to them. So I spoke to a young lad down there, looked on our Owen's phone, and on Twitter, he had Twitter, and he had this lad on there called Adam Kearns, who was part of this group. Adam later became a really good friend. And they were putting the flags out, and I said to him, I want to create, Owen's passed away. He used to do this over there, and I want to create a flag. And they were dead busy and that. And he went, yeah, we've got a meeting tonight. We'll talk about it, whatnot. I didn't even stay for the kick-off. I turned around, got in a taxi and went home. And that night...
So you didn't go? You didn't stay?
I went to the match. I was in the cop. Didn't stay for the kick-off. I just needed to go and speak to them.
So that's the reason you went?
Yeah.
Ah, right.
Yeah. And then I got in a taxi, went home, watched the game on the telly. Because I was all over the place. Still am sometimes.
Yeah.
But then I was just all over the place. So I got home. They rang and said, listen, we're in a meeting now and we really like this idea and we want to do it. What player are you thinking of getting the flag made? I said, no, I'm not thinking of that at all. And I said, I'll send something over to you now. And my wife's sister was in the conservatory. She was sitting there and she's a florist and really artistic. And I said, draw this. And she drew that, which was a dad and a lad, a silhouette with an 11 on the back, because that was Owen's age. We sent it back to the lads. And they rang me and said, look, we want to do this. Because we were wanting to pay for it out of Owen's funeral. And they were saying, no, we want to do this. So leave it with us and we'll get back to you the next day. And then they gave the image to a lad who now works for Liverpool called Andy Jones, whose mum is an ambassador for us. It's all really home. And Andy created this image in colour. And then they put a 12 on the back and sent it to me. And then they put Owen's name on the back, McVeigh. And when I spoke to Adam, I said, what's this about? And he said, well, we couldn't put Owen because most people would assume Michael Owen. Yeah. But we really wanted to personalise it. And we put 12 because that signifies the 12th man. And that's what we want Owen to be. But more importantly, when we lose people in the future, that's what the flag will be about. It'll be the 12th man. And I really like that idea. So I was like, that's lovely. A couple of days later, Joe said to me, we need to get away. And I was like, okay, because I knew this was coming. I said, where do you want to go? She went, somewhere really far. We've never been. Dead cold or dead hot. So I just went to shops. Caribbean was going, a cruise was going 2 days later, and we jumped on it and we just got off. And then Adam was liaising with me and said, I think the flag's going to go up at this game. It was the semi-final against Stoke. We ended up playing Man City in the final. And it got a bit of traction on social media. At the time, I was a bit of a relic. I didn't really know how it worked, but I'd added myself to these things. And then they unveiled the flag on that night. And my mum held it for the first night. And our friend. And me and Joanne were in this tiny little island called Bonaire. In the Dutch Antilles, in a shack, just bawling our eyes out, watching it live, like. And the club had rang me right after it and said, would you like to come stand on the pitch and see it? Like, I said, well, I would, but I'm in the Caribbean. And we were playing I think we were playing like soon after it, like immediately. I said, something I'll probably get in touch with you when we come back. So we did, and it was a couple of weeks later. And it was like a European game. And me and Joanne, we didn't really want anyone to know. We didn't want anything public, so we just sat in our seats in the cop. They come and got us. We walked around the outside of the ground, come up the tunnel, went and seen it, went back round, and again, we just wasn't strong enough. We got in a taxi and went home. And while we were on the pitch, a lady who's called Susan Black said, the owners would like to meet you. How do you feel about that? And I was, what did he want? She said, I don't know, but they want to meet you, so... 2 weeks later, we come up to Chapel Street and we met Mike Gordon from Fenway Sports Group. And he just wanted to know about Owen and what we were like as people. And more importantly, like, I wanted to know what he was like as people and that. And he was a good guy. And he helped us a lot. And in one of the first conversations, he said to me, what would you like? And I said, I like to see this T-shirt at some point, this logo in the club shops. And I think it was about a year to the day afterwards, they put it in the shops, and it's still there now after 8 years, along with badges and cups and mugs. So the club has supported us right from the word go. But they looked after me and Joanna's people first and foremost. You know, I remember Susan Black coming out to our house, and I think to this day, how hard must that be? To go out to a parent's house who's lost children, a child like that, and be there for them. And then obviously, you know, see what kind of people we were, and then, you know, pin our badge to them really, you know. And we became an official partner of the LFC Foundation like 5 years ago now. And we're the only charity that they've ever sold merchandise for in the club shops and online all over the world, and still do. And I don't know why that happened, but it did, and it gave us a platform to have some funds to really help the kids, you know. So it helped me. It got me out of bed of the morning. It gave me a purpose. In conjunction with that, I'd left work and decided that I was going to, you know, give Owen 1 year in my life to make sure I put this foundation in a place that it could be to help hundreds of kids for many, many years. And I left on my birthday, which was the 30th of January. Told Joanne that night. And then we ended up in the Blackburn Arms, having a breakfast on. I said to her, just stay off today. Just need to talk to you about a few things. And we sat in there, and it was the winter. It was the 31st of January, believe it or not, which is Owen's birthday. And the Lord Mayor of Liverpool rang and said, I've been given your number. I'm thinking about making the Owen McVeigh Foundation our charity of the year. I'd left work the day before. And he said, will you come in and see me? I was like, where? You at the town hall? I said, I'm in town now, come over. So we went over a little living room at the front of the town hall where he was with his wife, and the fire was on. And again, he just impressed me because the first thing he said was, tell me about Owen. And we did. And then it all come full circle, really big time, and I knew Owen was guiding us again. I asked him about himself. He was from the northeast. His name was Malcolm Kennedy. I asked him when he come to Liverpool, and he come as a really young man. And he said, I used to be, my ward was the Kirkdale ward. That's where he said, and I had a mentor, a guy who looked after me and taught me everything, and he went on to become the Lord Mayor of Liverpool himself, and he looked after me like a son. And it happened to be Lucy's granddad, the first child we ever helped. None of us knew. He never knew. He said the second name, and I was like, oh. And he went, yeah. And I wonder if it's related to Lucy. And when he must have went out the toilet or something, and I text Lucy's mum, and she went, yeah, that's a granddad, John Orr. And I was like, oh. When I told him that, he went, there's nothing else to discuss. The Owen McVeigh Foundation is our charity of the year. And everything changed for us really around that time. So just good people wanting to help in places that really could. And then it was just about us going out and doing the work then, which we've done and continue to do, again with all these organisations that we work with in the city. It was difficult at first because we did more in Manchester, which was madness, because again, one of our ambassadors was Simon Rimmer, and he'd help us with the musical side of things up at Manchester Arena, the MEN, if we wanted to send kids there. The problem is the kids are so ill. We need to keep them near the home as we possibly can. And again, we couldn't just send them to normal seats. We've got our own box, you know, where, you know, we can remove seats on the balcony. They can come in a wheelchair, take away that responsibility of being in amongst the crowd. They can stay afterwards, be calm. We've got private car parking facilities. We thought about everything to make it as comfortable as we possibly could, that these parents couldn't go out and do, and even if they couldn't afford. So on the back of people helping us over at the arena, that sort of became our jewel in the crown for a period of time, but that's grown now, you know, with the Royal Court and the Empire, and as I say, the Jockey Club, you know, they're so kind.
It's funny, isn't it? Because you said earlier, you know, you don't believe necessarily one way or the other, but it's almost like you haven't have to ask for anything, have you? It's
just natural.
It's like a magnet. People have just come.
It's still happening to this day. It's still happening. People like Tash Dowie, you know, that you have recently had on. I knew the minute I met her, she was something special.
Yeah.
She's just got an aura. And she'd get all embarrassed if you said that to her, but people like that do. And even Becky, you know, a partner, they're just two really lovely, humble people. I mean, they're straight away like, how can I help? And I'm like, just relax. You'll see a spot. And then, I won't lie, like I threw crumbs out there for Tash and she bit. She's doing the marathon this weekend, but she needed it for her. You know, and after talking to her, I got that, and I said, well, you know what? Let's do it for you, but it won't half help a lot of kids. And they come along at the Christmas party that we do every year at the Shankly. There's 240 kids there at that. every year, and Tash and Becky come and helped, and she was working for the BBC in the afternoon. She didn't need to do that. I know that. But she wanted to, you know, straight in, T-shirts on, lumping stuff around, what you need doing. And they're that kind of people. And we have a lot of them around us like that, like local businesses, like I'll call it Simon. He's really personal with it. You know, Adam at Sovereign Transport, you know, he's doing a Ironman in Bolton next month. They're hands-on. And yet they do simple things that really matter. Me and Adam had a conversation. He's like, I don't know how I can help with a haulage company other than giving you money. How can I? And we come up with this idea of naming the trucks after the kids we support. And he's got, hold me to it, I think he's got 40 odd trucks on the road now of the names of the kids we support. And at first we did it in honour of, you know, children who pass, but the kids love it. And we have an opening day every August to go up to the site. Kids all meet the trucks, get photographs in it, and all the families get together. Another lovely day, you know. Simple ideas, doesn't have to cost any money. It's wrapped in the Owen McVeigh Foundation image, and then that's all over the country, and people are asking questions about what that is again.
So you said earlier when we chatted that, you know, there's 90% of the stuff that you do, people don't even know about. Tell me about some of them things then, so we can actually...
Yeah, well, I think the parent stuff that we've already touched on, don't think there's any other charities that kind of do them things and give them nights, you know, over at. So next week we've got the Royal Court who we did Elford as well. So it's like a dinner night out, and we can introduce like 5 couples to each other just sitting here having a dinner and watching a show. In the most normal environment that we could create. And like I said, the most recent stuff at the races, we're thinking all the time, you know. And then, as I touched on before, like Breakfast Club at Albert Slosh, that again was just someone, Helen Bamford, I don't know, you know Helen, just cared. But again, it came from the young girl I touched on before who we sent to New York. It was her friend's daughter. So she was led to us. And again, how can we help? And I've gone, I really want to do this Breakfast Club. And because we haven't got our own building, and that's the plan, because we camp out in these places in the city, that we could do it there. And I was a bit like, okay, so we're going to have a drag queen with the kids in the morning playing music. Like, how's this going to work? But it really works. Yeah. You know, it really, really works. And they're just dead kind. Helen's gone over to Dubai now, but they've took it on and they've seen it. And again, their company all signed up to do last year's abseil because they've visually seen where the funds are going and what we're doing, you know. And again, the Everyman now, which is movie week. The next one's How to Train Your Dragon, and we just put a blanket email out for the families if they want to come along, and that kind of introduces them. And again, it's our own private facility. So we're always thinking, you know, what next, what can we do? And at the races, after that gentleman saying he's put a golf tournament together to cover the costs for it for next year, and we'll go along in July. And there was a little boy actually who we looked after, we still look after. He's going to Ollie Mears in 2 weeks. He was a keen golfer, but he was so weak because of his treatment, and he lived up in Formby. The best golf course I was told was Formby Hall, so we spoke to Formby and we got him and his dad a pass for the year, so we could do the six-hole course or the 9-hole course, whatever it is, half, till he got stronger, and then he ended up being the captain of Tommy Fleetwood's junior team. You know, so we put it in where they want it and they need it, you know. And now we're going to ask him to play in this golf tournament to represent us, you know, because he's come full circle and he's got better, which is lovely. And his passion is golf. So, as I say, I'm 50 now, but I've got to learn. These kids are young, you know. I had a young girl that meant so much to me, unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And we were out at the arena and she said to me, any chance you can get Dave on, Mark? I was like, who's Dave? I was like, Dave's our decorator. So I had to do a bit of research, find out who Dave was. And yeah, we got her a box to just invite all her friends. And she went along and watched Dave that night, you know.
Where's Dave?
He's a rapper from London. Yeah. He's old news now, mate. But it's just being humble enough to listen to the kids and never be frightened to learn and do what they want to do, you know. Because a child will ask you for the simplest things. Even on Friday, we do that probably once a month. We go the AXA. So we do visits with terminally ill children or seriously ill children. And it was a mum that spoke to me that she'd been in touch with Make-A-Wish about a lad. He's from Kirby, 17 years of age, been through a terrible time. And he just wanted to meet the players. That was his wish with them, and it couldn't deliver. And I take great pride in the fact that, like, I want to do that. I want to make a difference to that kid's life. So I spoke to Liverpool, and we took him on Friday with his older brother 18 and his younger brother 11. And he just smiled all day. And his mum just said, I never get a smile out of him. He's just so happy. And I'm like, yeah, just create them moments. And he's at the darts as well with his dad coming up. So it's their time now, you know, to enjoy it, to enjoy these things. So we're just creative, really, in what we do and just always looking for an opportunity. We do meet and greets up at the arena with, you know, World's Strongest Men. We do that every year. Or, you know, monster trucks. You know, the kids go behind the scenes and stuff like that. So
it's loud, that, isn't it?
It's too loud. It's ear defenders. Yeah. It makes you feel actually physically sick. Eddie does that one from now on. So yeah, Eddie does most of the events up at the arena now. And he's got so much knowledge, and as I say, he's been doing it over 30 years, so the families are really comfortable with him.
What have the players been like with you?
Great. Virgil's obviously been ultra like pro the Owen McVeigh Foundation. He's been with us now since he's been here. I got a telephone call one day. He reached out to us. Again, just natural. You're right. We've never really asked. It just comes. That I think someone at the club was asked to present for local charities that 4 players wanted to work with. At the time, I think it was Virgil, Andy Robbo, Jordan Henderson, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. And I don't know how true this is, but I believe the telly went on and we were first, and Virgil got up and said, all right, I'll call Mark, see you later. And that's how it came about.
Really?
Yeah. And
what was it like when he called?
It's amazing, isn't it? You know, I mean, I'm still humbled by him. He genuinely is a really good guy, and his wife, right here, you know, they make the decisions together. We've got 4 children. But I would get sent like a memo to say, come up with some ideas that we might want to get involved in this year. And I would create like 4 things. And every time he's gone, yeah, we'll do them. And I'm like, I only need you to do what? No, we'll do that. So he always comes back to me that, you know. So he looks after Peacock Lodge, and he has done. James Milner done it the first year to help us with rates, lecky gas, a cleaner, someone to look after the hot tub, all the basic needs that you need, really. Wear and tear, you know, painting the deck, and they looked after that for us. And then Virgil took over 5 years ago and looks after that for us every year. And then it's him who comes up with them ideas. Can you send mum to get her nails done when she's up there? Can we buy vouchers so they can go and get roast dinners? They're his ideas, they're not mine. When him and his wife. And then he does the Halloween party for the kids every year at Aintree Races. So we hire a big box there and we have a big Halloween party there. He does the Christmas party. He's done that for the last 4 years. So he's very actively involved, but humble as hell, doesn't mention it. I want to scream it from the rooftop, you know, because I love Liverpool, and I seen him on Friday, and I still always think he's a handsome bugger every time I see him, and he smells really good.
Everyone says the same.
Yeah, he does.
He smells.
He does, yeah, he does. But it's humbling, isn't it? It's humbling, but also like fitting that the people that Owen like live for, because he just loved it that they're looking after him, and all the ex-pros, you know, Forever Reds. The club actually got in touch with us the first time we done the lunch club and said, we want to make this official. We want it to be the Owen McVeigh Foundation with Forever Reds at a lunch club like no other. And that's lovely. Again, they wanted to make it official. They trust us. They know we do a good job. And they know we do it for the right reasons.
What's been your proudest moment?
Huh.
When you've actually stood back and thought, wow, I've managed to do that.
This is going to sound really, really corny. It's probably just to make my wife smile. Because she means everything. She always did. She always will. It can get really, really tough sometimes, but like we're just best mates, and I love her dearly. And it upsets me every day she's got to go to work because we just always want to be together. And as corny as that sounds, she goes to match with me. I know she's not even interested. I know she's not. But she just wants to be with me and I want to be with her. So after this devastation, if I can put a smile on her face at any opportunity, then I will. And, you know, she's first up dancing. And I love that about her.
So for anyone who wants to support or needs support, what's the best way to get through to you?
You can get in touch with us directly through the website, owenmcveighfoundation.co.uk, on all social media platforms. We pretty much advertise some of the things we're doing in regards to like the skydive or the abseil, or a lot of people just go out and do it themselves and then get in touch, and then we'll send a pack out to them and stuff like that. We still use the old school Facebook because the families tend to love it, and that's their own kind of closed group page, you know. And I don't know, there's 17,000 people on there, and they're just the families that are talking to each other and family and friends. So we do tend to use that as well. But we're visual, you know, and I know it is taboo, but you know, we're not going away. We're going to help these kids for as long as we absolutely can. And we're always going to be thinking of ideas. So if there's businesses out there that think, oh, we could do something quite similar to that, or there's a restaurant who thinks they could do something quite similar to that or help in any way, just get in touch.
Brilliant. I know it's not your favourite thing doing this.
No.
I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's been brilliant.
No, thank you.
Much.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Right.
Sense Sophie was crying in the background.
Sorry. Sorry. I've really been dreading today, you know, and I feel, I don't know why. Just, I don't know. But I felt really good just talking then. Sometimes it's just better to just say something, innit? Yeah.
Apparently I've got a monotone voice, don't make everyone relax. That's a feedback normally.
Yeah, well, you make me go monotone. Yeah. No, but thank you for giving us the opportunity to, you know, explain what we do. Because you go off in all directions, you know. A lot happens in 9 years, doesn't it?
I can't believe how quick it's gone.
No, honestly, I'm like that every day. And every day brings a new challenge, and because you've got to crack on. You know what I mean? Still love getting away on holiday. Still get something booked, make sure we're going, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the calendar is busy, but then what's the alternative? You know, keep yourself busy.
You've still got to have that space for yourself, though, otherwise you burn out, won't you?
Yeah, well, I did that.
You're giving so much, that's the thing.
I did that, and I ended up in hospital in a bit of a bad way, and then the committee brought Eddie in, you know, with us, which was the best decision ever. I find it difficult to let go for obvious reasons, but I'm getting better at that, you know. Like, we go and do a lot of speaking in schools and organisations, and I'm actually like, go on, Ed. Things like this, it has to be me. I understand that.
Yeah.
But Eddie will do the things that I don't have to do. And there's a lot of that. Because it's so personal. I want to say thank you. You know, even like last night, Eddie was down for talking in the Brindley, but I wanted to go and thank the schools. There was 230 kids there performing for us last night, and I wanted to say thank you, and I did. And then let him go and do his thing. That's never going to change. I don't want it to change. It's got my son's name attached to it. I need to say thank you, you know. But everyone genuinely has been lovely in regarding the city and what, once they know what we do and how we do it, and if they can help, they will. But you're right, we don't kind of haven't had to go cap in hand to anything. Just
Such a nice feeling.
it's nice, yeah. It you know, sometimes we've been offered certain things, and Joe's my counterbalance. She's like, no, but I will take it in the heart and live with it. Where she's like, chop you down, no, because she's protecting me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And she's like, that's not right for you, but she'll say it. She won't hold back. I go, can you just wait till we leave the room? And she's like, no, because it's just not right. It's not right. Owen wouldn't like that. And I'm like, I know. I knew that when I was in there. But just there's a nicer way to do it.
by text as we leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had to learn to be better at that. Because you can't care too much. You know. And it's people again, innit? If, like, there was a little boy that I was speaking about, he was 3 months old when we took him on. And he would just smile all the time, this kid. And like I said, how can you do... But we were doing it for the mum and dad. You know, we were doing it for them. And he had a brain tumour. And we got told just before Christmas that he wasn't going to last Christmas. It would be one in February. So yeah, so you're 10 months old. He wasn't going to get to 10 months old. So the answer isn't run away from it. It really is hard, and it really does take loads out of you, but we just got busy trying to create as many memories as we could for them. And so I'd come up with the idea, let's bring Christmas forward. Let's give the family Christmas. We sent them right all the whole family. They all went up there and we created Christmas there for them in the early December. And then I spoke to Paul again at the art school and I said, let's get them all round for a Christmas lunch and in the art school. We had apartment, Hotel Anfield helped us load. They give us an apartment for 16. So we had all the family ready to go. And Alder rang the day before and said, look, we've got this new drug. It isn't going to save his life, but it might prolong it. And again, if families have that decision, there's no decision you're going to do it, aren't you? So we couldn't do that. And as much as I was upset, I was happy that they were getting this extra chance. And he lasted till February, the little boy. And his mum and dad are down for the skydive on Saturday. That's their way of remembering their boy. We have to create these things. And I never went out to do that. It's just visually noticeable that they want to be attached because that's their way to remember their boy. We're not lucky to have a foundation in Owen's name because I wish I didn't for obvious reasons, but there's not many that this happens to where they can attach themselves to it because they have maybe got busy lifestyles, got jobs, got other children. So we do that work for them and take that out of the equation and just let them enjoy it. And whether that be a night out for them or a night out with the kids. And it's hard because you can't put them in a room with children that are sick because, again, they're their worst nightmare.
Yeah.
But that means you want to like, well, they're not getting forgot. So how do we create something else? And that's kind of what we've done. Just so we're juggling. But you have to know your people or you can create the nightmare for them. So I know every single family that we help. I know the children and I know their brothers and sisters. You know, I know what mum and dad do because we're at every event to listen. And there's two of us now doing that. And that's why it's still very much like Liverpool, a village, and the charity's the same. Don't have any ideas of grandeur and moving outside of this city. Everything we ever want to do for the kids is here. And there's, unfortunately, 100 not diagnosed every year.